Greece defaulted. If Japan defaults, that's going to blow up a lot of things in the United States financially. We got a crazy video today, but let's start with the 30-year Treasury yield surpassing 5% for the first time since November of 2023, which is the second highest level in 18 years. Investors signaling that the U.S. public debt crisis is heading to a turning point. Now, this is very important. China also said that they vow to take measures if the U.S. insists on quote unquote going its own way. So we are not clear with China just yet. Markets do not care. Markets don't care. SPY is trading at 593.22. Over the weekend, we saw everything with the credit downgrade. We covered it. We talked about it. And there was one thing that I stated in the video, if you paid very close attention, the most bullish thing that we could get, guys, is a hold above 585 with the credit downgrade. We got a credit downgrade, and the SPY didn't even break under 585. It actually didn't even break under 586. We got a dip buy and a move up, which is barely a retracement, barely a breather. Are we going to see a breather? That's for another prediction. But right now, what I can tell you is that bulls are holding extreme strength in the market. And we see that on the daily time frame as well. We are now not only neutral on the year, we are green on the year. We are bullish on the year. We are fighting key resistance levels. SPY is holding up. VIX came and popped up to 20. Oh my God, so dangerous, right? Actually rejecting off of the 200, up 6%, now declining down to 18. Markets don't care. What does this mean? Well, if we are going to see a crash or a sell-off or something along the lines of that, it's likely going to be a flash. It's not going to be slow. And the reason for that is because the way markets are positioning, and I'll explain a little bit why, the way markets are positioning, institutions are getting back in. If institutions get spooked, they will exit with a fair amount that will drop the markets pretty quickly. I don't believe there's going to be some sort of uncertainty, slow selling down on the SPY anymore. I think if we are going to sell off, you're going to see it flash down. Now, Japan's 40-year bond yield just ticked up to 3.5%. It's the highest level in 2 decades. This is so important. This has been going around all weekend, but it is getting worse. In the beginning of the video, we talked about Japan correlated over to Greece. And then we also had Japan's prime minister come out and say today that their financial situation in Japan is worse than Greece. Now, why is this so important? This is important, and we're going to talk about it for GameStop, most importantly, because of those total return swaps, which lets institutions short GameStop synthetically without actually borrowing shares, which also hides the actual short interest. Now, these positions require collateral and are subject to mark-to-market risk. Rising global bond yields like the 30-year U.S. Treasury hitting 5%, declining bond values, which hurt the collateral base of leveraged institutions and lead to margin calls or forced unwinds of swap positions. Long story short, Japan is a huge source of global liquidity due to their historically low rates. But if their financial system is blowing up, rates spiking, yen collapsing, it could trigger this carry trade unwind, which is we saw a little bit of a glimpse of back in 2024, but now we might be getting the full movie. Okay, margin calls globally, flight to safety, de-risking of speculative positions, and the difference for the speculative positions to this is that a lot of these swaps using the leverage interest rates, using this carry trade, I should say, are the ones that are going to blow up. And this is a perfect depiction as to what we could see. Clearly, Roaring Kitty saw something coming, and this is all in my opinion. I don't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is all in my opinion. He saw something coming, and we could be seeing it come right now. Now, we also saw his waiting post, and this is just something that popped in my head just now. And we also saw on his live stream with this thumbnail, he was late. I think a lot of things in this timeline are a little bit late, but we saw a little bit of a glimpse of it in 2024, and now I think we're going to get the full picture once again. I also want to state, right, let me find it really quick because we got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Fed Vice Chair Jefferson says that vital central banks stand ready to provide liquidity. Remember I said markets do not care. There's so much uncertainty. There's all this other stuff. Why are institutions buying near highs? It just seems sketchy, right? The market seems sketchy. And the way I see it is a lot of things are squeezing. They're squeezing behind the scenes. And we know that we have a backbone. We have a bailout. Institutions know that. The Fed is ready to come and bail out markets if things get sticky at all. So even if we see a flash crash, I think it's just going to prompt a further squeeze across the board. And I just want to put that out there. Now, I'd spent a decent amount of time charting AMC and GameStop, and I did find some macro cycles. I found them very interesting. This is back from, and you can look at it for yourself, from February of 2020 right into January of 2020. So about February 20th to January 20th of 2020. We saw these cycles play out, and it's almost a 1-year cycle. But they play out way too identically. So at this point, I want to state right now, and this is the very beginning phases. If you don't like this, you don't like this, it's okay. I believe even if we didn't see a squeeze, which is not what I expect, I am expecting a major move on AMC as well as GameStop, and I'll show you a closer look at the charts in a second. But I believe we could just time these cycles to the point where we could just make money. I mean, it's pretty simple. They play out very closely, very to a T. But let's take a closer look at the charts here. GameStop is in this rising parallel channel that we are seeing right now, and we are trading at 27.97, down 1.6% on the day. You can see on the 4-hour, we are basically getting 4-hour base built below this channel, which is very bad for GameStop. If we build a base below this, you're likely to come back down to 27.30, and we really need to hold that. If we don't hold that, you're likely to come down to 26.60. So we'll watch those levels very closely. What do I see happening? Based on the, well, lottery stocks, what do you see based on the cycles that you charted out? Well, at this point, we have two major spots that we talked about. One of them being May 29th, second one being June 21st. The May 29th, because the GMEU FTD cycle, the C plus 35. Then we have the June 21st, which lines up with OPEX as well as XRT ETF rebalancing date. And it brings in a lot of confidence in this time zone. So based on the cycle, and I'll tell you, separate from that, we would see something along the lines of this, where we see a pop Tuesday, May 27th. Well, not actually a straight pop, but leading into that, and the cycles don't have to play out identical, but leading into that, we should see 21.75. And then a retracement. Okay, leading into June 9th, which historically we see a peak, we should see 34.50 with a retracement. Following that, coming to late June, between the 20th and the 25th, we should see 45 on GameStop. And then we should squeeze. This is based on charts. This is based on historical patterns. This isn't based on an algorithmic break. This isn't based on a gamma ramp, a gamma squeeze. This isn't based on OPEX, the rebalancing, the T plus 35, right? This isn't based on any of that. This is based on solely the algorithmic moves that we have seen historically. Now, putting them together, what do we see? Well, we see a window from the 27th to the 29th, where we should see some sort of peak. We don't know what peak, right? I assume based on cycles, it's around 31.75. Now, this is also interesting because leading into this, they will have to return these FTDs from GMEU. Secondly, what do we see? June 9th, a historical pop. This also lines up. We don't know where it will top out at, but it lines up in the direct middle of GameStop earnings as well as the Microstrategy board meeting with GameStop. Okay, we're on to something here. June 20th to the 25th. Well, we don't know exactly how high, but based on algorithmic moves, we should see around $40 to $45. Well, this also lines up with that OPEX date as well as the rebalancing, and a sharp move into that is very likely because they would have to return exact securities, not like-kind securities, for the ETF rebalancing that happens 4 times a year. So, long story short, we are in a very beautiful position. The downside risk is unlikely, in my opinion, and it would be very detrimental if we see that. I'm not calling that off, and I'm not calling for anything necessarily because I can't give financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but that is what I will tell you, and I hope that you're enjoying this so far because I find this very good information. Now, we also see the dark pool orders fighting this level right around $28.15, $28.17, right? This level is being fought very, very hard. Now, why is that? Because we have to keep in mind the gamma ramp. They don't want us back above 28.50, and you can see this is where the gamma ramp actually starts to kick things off. Now, it's very weak until you get above $30, but even then they want to keep it away from building, because once you get above this, if the dark pools allow that to happen, if this price pinning stops or slows or something along the lines of that, market makers delta hedging, buying shares in the market, will push this thing higher. And it has to stay away from 30. It has to stay away from 35. It has to stay away from 40. It has to stay away from 125. Okay, so we'll put that out there right now. That's what you're seeing happen. AMC, a lot of your stocks, what do you see with the cycles? Very similar pattern. As far as the GameStop, well, based on the algorithmic move, you squeeze. Basically, you should see highs of the squeeze, peak squeeze between July 1st to July 5th. You come to AMC, similar pattern here, very similar. And we just got this recent spike, which just lines the algorithms perfectly. I mean, the charts line up perfectly. Across the board as well, mind you, if I showed you the daily, it lines up very good. I will just state that. Now, assumptions. We see by May 27th, we also see a peak right around 325. Again, levels don't have to match. Retracement, then another peak around June 5th at 320. A low, an all-time low, June 20th, which is a little bit different than GameStop. And then come fight back at the level at $3 right around June 30th. And then AMC gaps and meets GameStop at highs between the 2nd and the 6th, sometime around early June. With that being said, a lot of us have June 20th expiration call contracts, and I have those as well. Just to give you some clarity, right? My assumption is when we're at 35 or at whatever during the June 9th peak between the earnings and the board meeting, we will see those return some decent profits. Not the profits that you're looking for, but decent profits. I also have July expiration. I gave Discord the exact most profitable calls, in my personal opinion, that will play out. So if you're not in the Discord yet, make sure to join. It's the top link under the video. Also, COS has slowly been creeping up. It's up about 3%. I've given you this one. Chewy is up 3.5%. I said a break above 480. We're going to start taking off on Chewy, and it has been slowly creeping higher in the background. Another squeeze play I want you to keep on your radar, RKLB. Leading us into Bitcoin, we got a weird couple of moves yesterday. We came up to 106, flushed. We came up to 107, flushed. And right now, what we're seeing here is market makers, in my opinion, trying to liquidate shorts. They're trying to liquidate shorts out of these positions. They're trying to squeeze Bitcoin. At least what I see some liquidity grabs happening. The first liquidity grab was above 106. Then the second one was above 107, immediately kicking people out. And it played it both ways, right? It was, we wicked just under 102.200, and then we did it again, right? And now we're back up here. Well, what do we see? Broader market sell-off, maybe Bitcoin follows. Right now, nothing is looking likely. Nothing is looking good for the bears. So what we could see is the squeeze continue. We're still in a beautiful setup. We're still in a beautiful scenario. Watch for a pushback above 106, between 106 107. We want to see these bulls absorb the sellers, right? The buyers absorb the sellers between 105.900 and 107.200. So we'll watch that. Speaking of Bitcoin, Michael Saylor's Microstrategy was just hit with a class action lawsuit. Yeah, it's up 2.3%, trading at 409. Now, this held it back a little bit because I thought we would see higher gaps. But again, Bitcoin retrace as well. So there's a lawsuit, but no one really cares. In fact, Microstrategy doesn't even care themselves. I believe the lawsuit is how they purchase Bitcoin, and Michael Saylor's strategy just came out and said, yeah, we're going to buy more, right? They bought 7,390 Bitcoin worth $765 million, continuing to add. Now, I brought up UNH, and when I said to grab calls, we're up 25% so far on this position. Will it continue higher? Be careful on this. Right now, it looks good, but you likely would have already made some money here. This point for UNH, I would start being careful because we don't know if this is going to be a yearly long thing where they're going to get lawsuits. We also don't know if it's going to be a full form V-shaped recovery. So do your own due diligence, take your own risk completely. I just wanted to talk briefly about that. Nvidia is still holding up. If we get a dip before the earnings, I'd watch to buy at 125.50. I don't know if we're going to get that, but if we see a retrace across the board, we're likely to get that as the first level. But as of right now, I still see by May 28th, their earnings 150 price target being hit. Tesla's looking pretty good, consolidating right up here above $333, between 333 and 350, which is a beautiful thing to see. Overall, guys, that is what I got for you for today's video. Make sure to press the top link, join the Discord server. It's right here, Discord private community. Then we have a couple other ones. The Moo down here will get you up to 60 free stocks and allow you to earn 8.1% APY on your cash that is sitting in your account. So whenever you're not taking trades, you're going to be hooked up with a crazy APY that is likely higher than any bank that you could get, that is likely higher than any broker that you can get. But on top of that, once you deposit, you're getting these free stocks, and then you can do whatever you want with them on top of earning this safe APY as well as trading. Okay, so it's crazy benefit. Make sure to get in my Discord. There's a ton of benefits in there. And the people in there are amazing. Make sure to get 50% off a funded futures account using code LOTTO at checkout. Get 3 accounts if you want. Go check out the other stuff, tip jar. If you do use this, make sure to let me know a ticker or something if you want it covered in a video. Then my custom indicator, all that other stuff. That is it, guys. I love you all. God bless. Lottery Stocks out.